Thank you. We've got, as you can see, as these meetups have progressed, we've tinkered with using different technology over time, and the aim is to really get to a situation where we can provide opportunities for people wherever they are to join in these meetup sessions. Both from, we've got Toby and the team over at Poole Innovation Centre. We're obviously all here at the Tremo Innovation Centre, and we've got a number of people online that are watching from the comfort of their own home as well, which is great for those people that have other sort of family or care responsibilities, or are indeed anywhere. Just to recap on, the purpose of these meetups is about knowledge sharing, really. It's about the fact that, many marketing courses these days, by the time they're put on, content can be out of date, and things are moving so fast that it's about people that are in the marketing industry getting together, openly sharing their own knowledge and opinions about what's going on in the digital marketing world. And the great thing about this is that all of our speakers give up their time and share their knowledge and get up here to speak to a room full of their peers, and they do it for free. So it's without the speakers, we wouldn't be able to run these. So please, if we can sort of appreciate the time that's put into the organisation and running of these, and a special thanks to Rob Edlin at Nidux, who's provided all of the technology, and also Toby Parkins, who set up the Meetup group. Because without these, we wouldn't be able to learn new things and all get together like this. And also a big thanks to the innovation centres, who have again provided all of the rooms, refreshments for us, the business community, to be able to do this. So I want to say big thanks to them. And cake and pasties. So without further ado, I'll hand over to our speakers. We wanted to give a sort of a range of speakers' topics tonight to reflect what I see as the sort of key things that are going on in the world of digital marketing. So we finally managed to get Aaron Grimshaw along. He's going to talk about social media and the move to paid for, it becoming as a sort of paid for medium. We've obviously got Rob Edlin giving us his Google insights as ever, and we're waiting to hear what's coming this year from Google. We've then got Hazel Parsons. I thought a really key piece of the online chain is the use of intermediaries, and Hazel's going to give us an insight into the hotel marketplace and how you can use third parties to really up your online sales. And then finally, I wanted a sort of a seasoned professional to bring us all back down to earth about, there's lots of whizzy content being produced, but has it got the customer focus in mind? And it's all about remembering who our customers are, how they behave, and targeting quality content to them. So Malcolm's going to hopefully bring us all back down to earth after all of the whizzy stuff that we hear. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Aaron. Thank you.
Should work. Okay. We will see now. Aha. Okay. What I want to talk about tonight is whether businesses have actually been thinking free media rather than social media. And online, I posed 3 questions. As social media channels strive for profits, has the balance shifted towards them becoming paid media channels? How does having to pay for the media change the way we think about it and the role content plays in driving business? Is the term social media still relevant, or have we entered the connective media age? Now, there are countless definitions of what social media is, but my personal favourite is media for social interaction using highly accessible and scalable communication techniques. But what exactly does highly accessible and scalable actually mean? Well, it's been taken to mean free to use, openly available to anyone, doesn't require any specialist knowledge, and can be scaled up to reach millions of people. Now ask yourself, does that sound like a sustainable business model to you? If we want to examine that further, we can take Facebook as an example. Why Facebook? Well, because it's the largest, longest running, and most widely adopted social network we have to base our insights on. Does Facebook think that the current model is sustainable? Well, according to Facebook, on average, 1,500 pieces of content could appear in each person's newsfeed each day. Yet, due to space and time constraints, Facebook typically serves up only 300 pieces of content per day. They say content that is eligible to be shown in newsfeed is increasing at a faster rate than people's ability to consume it. And that they expect organic distribution of an individual's page posts to gradually decline over time as they continually work to make sure people have a meaningful experience on the site. Now, to put that into some kind of perspective, currently organic reach is about 16%. And it's predicted under these changes that will fall as low as 2%. So what is the answer? Well, Facebook says we're getting to a place where because more people are sharing more things, the best way to get your stuff seen if you're a business is to pay for it. Let's face it, you offer businesses or individuals a free route to express their ideas and their opinions, they'll use it. Eventually, as everyone rushes to speak, it becomes more and more difficult to hear the individual conversations over the white noise. That is what's happening on Facebook, and it's happening across the social media landscape. Every minute, 100 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube. 546,000 tweets are sent on Twitter. 347 blog posts are published via WordPress. 38,000 new photos are added to Instagram, and 2,083 check-ins happen on Foursquare. Now, these statistics, I had a different set of statistics in up until today when I went back through and checked them all. I was using statistics that were published last year. And the statistics last year were 48 hours, 100,000 tweets, and 3,600 Instagram photos. So you can see the growth over just 1 year. So if up until now you've been guilty of thinking free media rather than social media, I believe it's time to reevaluate your ideas. Content is still king, but money rules. Those with the budgets can afford better content and wider distribution. They can afford the best creative minds and the most accurate data. So let's return to that earlier definition of social media. Media for social interaction using highly accessible and scalable communication techniques. Is social media still accessible to the average business? Or is it more accurate to say that we have entered the connective media age, where reach is paid for, specialist knowledge is required, and investment in quality creative is the norm? Kind of like it was before with traditional marketing. But of course, our new media marketing has other benefits. It's more measurable, it's more personal, it's more authentic. Except, of course, when the measurements don't relate to business outcomes, the updating is outsourced to an agency, and brands pay people to say good things about them.
How's that? Is that okay?
Does anyone have any questions for Aaron before we move on? I forgot to say that each speaker will take questions at the end of their presentation.
That's because Aaron's not here now.
Anyone have any questions for Aaron?
Yeah, I can hear that. Outgoing bandwidth looks a bit poor.
Yeah, I think we ought to get super fast here. Actually, be a lot better. Okay. Can you hear us okay now, Toby? Obviously not. Put your thumbs up if you can hear me now, Toby. Can you hear all right? You can hear me now.
You can now, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. I put a request in for Superfast. Yeah. Okay, Toby, mute your end now. Okay, good evening, everybody. As you can see, we're using. Yeah, yeah. Well, it doesn't really matter. But, yeah, so we've been trying out a few different things there. I was hoping to have an hour or so extra time to get things sorted, but that didn't happen. So this all happened in about half an hour this evening. We're using Google Hangout, which is one of the technologies that people are starting to adopt now. To do the screen sharing across there. The problem with Hangout at the moment, it doesn't have HD screen sharing, which is why we don't use it for the presentations. And at the moment, we're using Citrix Go to Training, which also allows us to record the presentations. So my presentation today is not as glossy and shiny as some of the other ones we'll see. It's just a few points and some of the observations and some of my thoughts and some of the things I think we will see this year with Google and some of the organisations that it's related to. So I'm going to give you a look through the looking glass in 2014 to Google as I see it. So one of the main things that I think we're going to see is a much more connected environment. There's lots of isolated pods, lots of different people disconnected, and we're starting to see technology bring those together. Even tonight, where we've got a video link, and we've got probably about a dozen or so people who are also watching from home. We're more connected, and we can see what's going on a lot more. At the heart of this, and one of the things that Google's been investing a lot in is Google Plus, and I think 2014 is going to be the year that Google Plus really starts to take off. Google's obsessed with it at the moment, and it's rolling it into all sorts of different products. So we saw at the back end of last year that YouTube now, if you want to make a comment on YouTube, you have to have a Google Plus account, and we're going to see more and more of that. And Google Plus itself is embedding itself in just about every part of what Google offers. So we're going to see better connected people. We've got more devices. We've got bigger uptake of mobile. The thing that we'll see this year, and interesting that Aaron talks about social media and paying for social media, is we're going to see the paid advertising platform launch for Google Plus. Now, unlike Facebook, where it gives us a load of supposed to be contextually targeted ads in there, one of which I saw on constipation on Monday for myself. I'm not constipated. It's contextually incorrect. So with the Google Plus post ads, what's planned for the advertising platform there is not to put the ads actually inside Google Plus, but to put them on the outside and to actually have the Google Display Network that some of you may be familiar with, where we use banner advertising on other people's websites, and that's going to carry the Google Plus advertising in a way to try and encourage people to connect with Google Plus. So it's going to draw people in. You'll be able to have a conversation actually within the ad, which sounds a little bit strange, but the mock-ups that we've seen and some of the tests that we've seen already, it doesn't look too peculiar, but be interesting to see how people interact with that. We're also starting to see, certainly in Google, more dynamic ad formats. We've had all sorts of enhancements on the ad formats with engagement ads recently, and the Google Plus ads are really just going to be an extension of that. So the one thing I would take from this evening is, if you're not using Google Plus, or if you don't think you're using Google Plus at the moment, take a good look at it and see actually when you start scratching beneath the surface, you'll realise that Google Plus is everywhere, and you probably didn't notice it. It's in search. It's in every aspect of what you do on Google now. So you need to start embracing it, and we've certainly started to see that pick up in pace since November. So look out for Google Plus. And in fact, with Visit Cornwall this week, it's been Malcolm's been my warm-up act all week, but this evening I'm his warm-up act. But with Visit Cornwall, we've been doing an amount of Google Plus training, and it's been amazing to see quite massive attendance of the members and their interest in Google Plus and how they're going to use it to promote their businesses. YouTube, everybody keeps talking about YouTube as the second biggest search engine. People use it differently. People love video content, yet still in 2014, we still see businesses really struggling to develop their own content and upload it to YouTube and promote it properly. YouTube advertising is dirt cheap. It really is cheap. And you really need to start using it to advertise your business. I've said this several times before, but if you look at on a cost per click basis, if you're using AdWords on google.co.uk in a text-based search ad, cottages in Cornwall would cost you about £2.50 a click. In YouTube, it costs about 7p a view. So it's a different platform. It's got a different audience, but it's one that you can if you've got a very limited marketing budget, bang it into YouTube, and you'd be surprised what you're going to get back from it. It's amazing what it's doing, and Google are investing in the advertising platform on YouTube, but they're still struggling to get people to get good quality video produced and up there. So look out for YouTube. We've been talking about mobile for many years. People have been burying their head in the sand when it comes to mobile. This year, most traffic that comes to websites, over 50% of traffic that comes to website, is coming from a mobile or a tablet. The majority of our clients are already seeing that. Some of our clients are seeing 60, 70%. And that's been fueled by the cheap tablet sales, Android, and more people picking up mobile devices, smartphones. We can't ignore it. And I keep saying every time we meet, yet we still see people not having mobile-enabled sites or responsive sites or adaptive sites. But you are building your websites now for people who are on mobiles and tablets, and the website should also work on a desktop and a laptop. So there's no excuse for it. You are missing out if you're not mobile. We're starting to see quite rapid evolution of remarketing, retargeting. We're seeing this now in the product listing ads in Google for those of you that have got e-commerce sites, so we can stalk people, if you like, with individual products they've looked at and products that we think they're interested in. And in the back end of last year, the search remarketing, or as Google call it, the remarketing list for search ads, it's a little bit more complicated to say. But the search remarketing is a way of using retargeting and remarketing in search. So if people are visiting your website and then going off and doing other searches, you can follow them around in search, not just using the display network. So remarketing is if you're not using it at the moment, it's worth just putting a small amount of budget aside to remarketing and giving that a try, making sure that you're running it with analytics and conversion tracking and the likes to make sure that it's still making you money. But some of the dynamic things that are coming up, we've got hotel price ads, we've got a whole host of custom feeds that are coming in for dynamic ads to remarket to people. So if somebody has visited your website, selected if you've got accommodation site, a date range, and you're given a price, you can follow people around with an ad that says your holiday is still available and it's still this amount, and in fact we'll probably give you 10% off if you book now from this ad. So that sort of stuff is really starting to get established now. Search continues to grow, and people continue to struggle with search. Last year we saw loads of people get nailed because of poor quality link building. Even today, just before I left Penzance, somebody came out of the woodwork and said, oh, since May last year, all my search traffic from Google Organic has just gone through the floor. And you start talking to them and you realise they've been buying crappy links in. And there is no hope for those people. It has never been a good thing to buy poor quality links in. It never will be a good thing to do that. So if you are doing it, stop doing it. If you're paying people to do it, stop paying them to do it, and get onto content marketing and start looking at other ways that you can actually think more about the user rather than how you can trick the search engines, because it's getting tough out there. And certainly from the search engine optimization point of view, we're moving more over to a model of content marketing and search engine marketing and social media marketing becoming much more important than people saying, I used to be number 3 for this particular keyword and now I'm number 4 for it. What have you done wrong? If you do a search on 400 different devices, you'll see 400 different types of results, and we demonstrated that again this afternoon. So search is very important, but remember, people only spend 5% of their time online on a search engine. The other time is spent on social media and other websites, so don't forget that side of things. But search still works, and it's working very well, and Google is still in the lead at the moment. The big thing for this year is wearable technology. We're going to see Google Glass hopefully come out in the early part of this year. Andrew and myself have already tried it. I was going to put a photo up there. The photo of me trying Google Glass is me very hungover, so it doesn't look as good, and I didn't get a chance to put Andrew's picture up there, but we can show that later. But Google Glass, for those who don't know what it is, it's like a pair of glasses with almost like a mobile phone deconstructed and put in the side of there. It projects the equivalent of a 23-inch picture in your eyeball, which sounds a bit sinister, and it is a bit peculiar when you first put them on and try and get used to it. But it's amazing. It really is amazing. It's all voice activated. You can search. You can view websites. You can record video just like that. You can take pictures with a wink now as well. And there are other things that are coming. So we'll all look like Anne Robinson doing the wink there. So there are other providers that are working on this kind of technology. But as I said earlier on today, 5 years ago, would we think that the majority of our traffic coming to our websites would come from tablets? No, we didn't think that because the iPad didn't exist at that point. So is wearable technology, we're talking about Google Glass and some of the other products that are out there, the Sony smartwatches and Galaxy Gear, those sort of things are really going to take off this year. And we'll start, obviously, first of all, with the early adopters, but it'll grow quicker than all of the other things that have happened before. So expect that to happen. And how are we going to deal with that? How are you going to send messages to people that are using Google Glass and other technology like that? Can we run ads in the things that they're looking at? So we'll take advantage of those things as they come along. But it's some exciting technology. Last year was a bit dull in terms of new gadgets and that sort of thing. I think this is going to be a gadgety year, and I'm looking forward to it. The Androids will take over, or Android will take over. Now, this is my prediction, my personal prediction. We're seeing about a third of all mobile and tablet traffic come from from Android at the moment, and about 2/3 coming from iOS. But iOS is really dying off, and Android is really building. We're seeing month-on-month growth of Android, and it's because of the cheap tablets, the little tablets and the Tesco tablets and that sort of thing that loads of people got for Christmas. It's really, really starting to build. So expect to see, I would say probably by the summer, the majority of businesses in Cornwall will see more mobile traffic coming from Android than they are from iOS and Apple's operating system. And just a little quote here from Google. Android took 81% of the smartphone market in the third quarter of last year, solidifying its position as the world's most popular operating system. And that is my advert from Google over. So expect some interesting stuff going on there. But Apple's have. I'm not saying they're in trouble, but Android is going to take over. That's my personal view. Google Tag Manager. We talked a little bit about this last year. It's a well-established product now. It's a containerized control system, if you like, for tagging on your website. Controls Google Analytics, controls remarketing code, and it's an easy way for you to make changes to the tracking on your website without having to trouble your web developer for that. I would recommend that if you haven't got Google Tag Manager, free product from Google, installed at the moment and you're running your own websites, then get it installed now, and then work with your web developers to get Google Tag Manager installed properly. So then, when more changes come to Google Analytics, and there's quite a few changes coming to Google Analytics this year, quite a few changes. So every time there's a change in analytics at the moment, you have to contact your web developer. They have to go through a period of testing and get things sorted out. With Tag Manager, you can try it, you can roll back. It's got good version control. You can test it in an isolated environment. You can go live. It works. So Google Glass, I've already mentioned. And one of the other things we might see this year as well is finally a Nexus TV. A few of us have already got the Chromecast, which is about a third the price of Apple TV. It's still not quite there yet. I don't think it's quite ready for the front room. It's still stuck in the office at the moment, whereas Apple TV's in the front room. And somebody in the room has destroyed their network with Chromecast. But it's a 35 quid device that goes into your HDMI port on your TV, and you can stream video content to it and images and music and that sort of thing. So it's still not commercially available in the UK. You have to buy it from other countries at the moment, but a few of us are testing it out. But we may see a Nexus TV this year, and I think we're starting to see all sorts of other devices with Android built into them. And then just to finish off, as I've already mentioned, there's lots of new stuff coming to analytics. Universal Analytics will come out of beta this year. You should all start migrating to, or putting a plan together to migrate to Universal Analytics, because it gives you a lot more control. We can track the offline environment now with Universal Analytics. And some of the things that we're going to be measuring this year are weather. We're going to be, a few people in the room, we've been talking about footfall counters. I got a little overexcited at the weekend about that. But what we can do, if somebody visits your website, we can, in addition to recording the details about demographic, age, geographic location, all that sort of thing, we can also record what the weather's like in that location that person was in. So we saw at the start of this year a lower than normal amount of people searching and booking for self-catering holidays, a massive amount lower. And what it related to was the flooding and the poor weather. Things turned around 7th, 8th of January, but some places saw no bookings over Boxing Day to the first week of January, which was really unusual. Now, if we've got that data going into analytics, we'll be able to then go back. We can't change the weather. It'd be nice if we could, but at least we know if we're tracking it and we can see how people are behaving when the weather's poor, then we can react to that with different advertising. We can record offline sales. We've got offline order management systems. We can take that data and put it into analytics. In the future, we'll be able to have much more control of the e-commerce data that comes in analytics, and that's as much as I'm allowed to say at the moment. But we can also track things like tragedy and events and overlay them with other data, the sort of things that affect people's behaviour on websites. But a big one for me is the weather. That's going to be an interesting one. And footfall counters. Just tracking how many people are coming into your business or whatever it might be. You can get that data into analytics. And then finally, for me, the year of the Internet of Things. There are a lot of strange things happening at Google. Google have spent $2.3 billion on buying a company that produces a temperature sensor and a thermostat, which sounds a little bit peculiar. And it's because Google are crap when it comes to dealing with people in the home. They really are. They're very good at working with businesses, but they haven't got a lot in the home. And I see this as a way of them trying to break into the home market and starting to look at those devices that we're already seeing things built. We're starting to see cookers with Android built in. We're starting to see vehicles with Android built in. We're starting to see all sorts of other things that people can control online go into the Internet of Things. So this year, I hope we're going to start to see more gadgets that are Internet enabled and more gadgets that have got Android in there. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I'm sure if we go back and have a look at Tomorrow's World from 20 years ago, we'll see the fridge that automatically orders beer and that sort of thing. Well, it might be here this year. So thanks very much for that. Sorry, my presentation wasn't as pretty as everybody else's, but I'll hand over to Hazel. The wrong screen. Bear with me a minute. There we go.
Okay, so ready?
Left and right. Forward,
Okay.
backwards.
Lovely, thank you. Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Hazel Parsons. I work with hotels to increase revenue through distribution management and wedding sales. I'm also the organiser of one of the largest B2B wedding industry networking events in the Southwest, which is being hosted at Eden on the 5th of February. So today I've been asked to talk about why hotels should, so to speak, get into bed with the OTAs. And to demonstrate why, I'm going to talk about the billboard effect. So what is the billboard effect? It's an increase in direct bookings due to having an online presence on the OTAs. The billboard effect was recognised in research carried out by the Cornwall University in their Cornwall Hospitality Report in 2009. The research looked at the effect the OTAs, or online travel agencies, had on hotel reservations as a whole. It outlined how accommodation reservations are boosted by the hotel having a listing with an OTA. Hotels experience not just bookings through the OTAs themselves, but also a rise in their own website bookings, phone calls, emails, and walk-in reservations due to having a listing on an OTA. So why does this happen? Online travel agents are huge multinational companies that have a much wider reach than independent hotels' own websites or more traditional forms of marketing. They are able to reach potential customers on a national, international, and global market. They have large marketing budgets and are able to streamline their marketing activities to get their website listing at the top of search engine results. Okay. When I search for hotels in Penzance on Google, the first few listings that come up are booking.com, trivago.co.uk, sorry to name a few, and Google Hotel Finder. And the next search result down is Late Rooms. The hotels can't compete with the amount of advertising the OTAs are doing as independent accommodation providers, and therefore are forced to ensure they have a listing on one, if not a few, OTA sites. The hotels receive a platform to sell in return for obviously putting themselves on the OTAs, which in the first instance is free marketing in return for large commission rates. The commission rates apply to any bookings they take, and there's sometimes as much as 20 or 25% per booking, so quite a considerable amount. The key to using the OTAs is effective distribution and rate management. So how does billboard marketing work? Take a look at the infographic above. I know it's a lot going on there. And you can see from that it's quite a complicated path that the customer takes to booking a hotel. Customers visit roughly around 10 sites before they make a purchase, from an online travel agency to the hotel's website, to TripAdvisor, back to the OTA. They have a look at Google Hotel Finder, they look on the social media, they go to a meta search site like Trivago or Trip Connect, and they also look on mobile travel agents as well. The OTAs are an essential part of the consumer journey. Why do accommodation providers need to consider the impact of the billboard effect? Hotels that are not listed on the third-party sites are missing out on a really large piece of a big pie. For 2013, the three top OTAs, or global OTAs, reported the following booked revenue. So the Priceline Group reported a 6.2 billion total booked revenue. Expedia came second with a total booking revenue of 6.15 billion. And Orbitz Worldwide reported 1.9 billion worth of booked revenue. Just to give you an idea of how much the market's worth. From a hotelier's point of view, you can't afford not to have a listing with an OTA. It should be considered a fundamental part of their accommodation marketing strategy. The OTA should be thought of as an extremely useful tool for getting their product to their key audience in a quick, cost-effective and efficient way. One of the benefits to hotels is quite often they have strict marketing budgets. OTAs are not perceived as a direct cost by the financial directors normally, and there's no sign-up fee or initial outlay. They don't charge until you have the booking and the revenue. going to skip through. So, in this respect, the OTAs are very customer friendly, but hotels should also be prepared for large commission charges for their website listing to drop below the OTAs, and even indirect searches for their website not necessarily come up first. With this said, OTAs should not be considered as a threat, but more as an opportunity to tap into a market that you cannot and will not do by just having your own website alone. The key to effective use of them is distribution, rate management to ensure maximised revenue. The benefits of the billboard effect can be seen in a case study that took place in 3 small hotels in different locations last year. The hotels used in this case study at first had taken no online market presence aside from their own website and their listing on TripAdvisor. They were listed on Google+, but the listings had been set up incorrectly. The desired outcome from the study was to generate a mass increase in accommodation sales, and very quickly. The hotels were trending at 30% down on occupancy figures for 2012 prior to the case study. The case study commenced in May 2013 and finished in December 2013. So what was stage 1? Stage 1 was over a period of 4 weeks. The hotel were digitally relisted with Google+. Their social media was reset up, or set up for them because some of them didn't have it. They had free online business listings and were added to those. We then looked at the room types and reclassified the rooms. Rates were adjusted to reflect the current market, and a standard product listing was established so that it could be placed on every internet site or listing. So they had product continuity on every site that everyone went to. What happened next? Stage 2, the results. Hotel 1, in month 1, they received over 60 reservations online for online booking to every 2 direct bookings. Their telephone and walk-in inquiries were unprecedented. For Hotel 2, in month 1, they received over 50 reservations online and had a similar experience to Hotel 1. For each online booking they were taking, they had 2 direct sales. Hotel 3. This hotel went live in September, so their results were slightly different but still impressive. In month 1, they received over 30 direct bookings, but with the same conversion rate on direct inquiries as Hotel 1 and Hotel 2. Stage 3 of the process was distribution management. Once the channels were opened up and the sales were coming in, the next step was to limit the availability through the OTAs further and to offer an incentive to customers to book direct, therefore avoiding the large commission charges the OTAs make, but still managing to feel the benefits of having their shop window. I skipped ahead a little bit because you already know the results. So the results were an increase in accommodation revenue by 90% on forecast for 2013. So quite an impressive increase. 34% of the increase was through the third parties, so booked through the OTAs, but 66% of the increase was through direct sales to the hotel. So it didn't just boost online bookings, it doubled the ones that came direct to the business as well. It's a very friendly lady. Okay. The PwC 2012 UK hotels forecast for 2013 projected an increase in hotel revenue for the region by 1.7% for accommodation revenue. So as you can see, what was forecast, they way surpassed that forecast. I should mention at this time as well that no other marketing was undertaken during this period. So it's not like we actually marketed through social media or any other form. We didn't. We literally just used the OTAs and obviously we listed the products. So, I mean, what can hotels do to increase bookings and direct revenue? You can use the OTAs as a marketing channel, not just as a distribution channel. Keep your Google Plus listing regularly updated and full of good images and relevant content. Make sure your website at minimum shows rate parity and has an added incentive or extra for guests to book direct with you. Keep your website up to date, use lots of images, use third-party sites. For third-party sites, they ask on average for over 22 images. Make sure you have the same content, if not better, on your website. Consider which OTAs you are using. With increasing international travellers from China and Germany, look at using sites that are targeted towards these consumer groups. Use seasonal images on the OTAs and on your website, but make sure you change them according to the season. So if it's winter, nice wintry pictures. If it's summer, nice beautiful beach pictures, or wherever you are, depending on location. The commissions can be high, but you have the control to limit availability, therefore showing a market presence, but generating increased direct sales. So you have the control to close out your availability and push them to come and ask you for the room, basically. Pay for a business listing on TripAdvisor and benefit from Trip Connect. Pushing sales again direct to your website. Manage your online reputation on TripAdvisor. Use it as a tool to generate bookings and respond to customers. Involve your management team. Operations is really key to converting a booking into a customer. Quite often with hotels who use an OTA, they get the customers through the door, but it's once they're through the door that they need to get them involved in their business and invested in their business and liking the product and getting them to come back. The same with most products, I'm sure. So if the management team and the staff are really aware of what the message is that you want to give to that customer and what you need to do to secure them as a repeat customer, then you hopefully should deliver that. When you've turned when hoping to turn your bookings into customer, use a customer relationship management system to follow up on email marketing so that you can obviously target them again. Integrate your sales, marketing and revenue plan and use it as a whole rather than separating everything off so it flows together. Keep a firm eye on changes and advancements in the mobile travel industries like Hotel Tonight, which is just 3 quick steps to booking and can be done very quickly from a smartphone. It's not for Cornwall yet, but keep your eye on what's going on within the mobile travel industries so that you're aware of what's coming up for this area. And looking forward for 2014-2015, the mobile travel industry is set to boom with quick and easy to use services and personalised booking experiences. So bear that in mind when you're building your mobile side of your site. Okay, so in conclusion, the OTAs are a very important part of a hotel's marketing plan and should not be treated separately. Make sure you as a hotelier or a hotel have a presence and that your product can be found so that you can utilise the service they provide and achieve an increased revenue and gain repeat customers for a minimal rate of commission. That's it. Any questions?
Do any of the systems allow someone who runs like a holiday let or a bed and breakfast to use them? Or are they only for big organisations?
I don't know. Does SiteMinder offer it for? Could you use that
We've
for?
got the Hotel Perfect site here. It must be better to answer that question. But it's the same principle. Channels with Etsy for arts and crafts. It's the same billboard effect.
Yeah, no, I just know.
So therefore, the channels you use, if you just do one channel, so I'm speaking for you, I haven't quite that this thing. Whatever channel you use, be on it, but just limit the availability on it because it's that billboard effect. So if you have the problem, some holiday lets, I thought, I'm not in the industry, is that you have one channel and that's it, and then they want to leave it, and that's not a billboard effect. That's just
no, I just
one.
I know. I don't have any. I just know people that they tend to go on Owners Direct.
Yeah.
And the local, the nearest inlet to the nearest village or in the village letting firm, and that's it. Whereas they could be pushing themselves. But the other one is eBay.
Yes.
And those are the only channels.
You have it, which is huge. ARBRD, which is massive now, growing exponentially. So you can do that. I mean, you can do your own room for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know of any. If I'm honest, I don't know the answer to that question. I'd be very happy to look into it and come back to you. But I would think if they haven't, it's something that people should be doing or would hopefully be looking to do because there is a need for it.
Well, why Rob's next to you, it was the Hotel Finder question I want to ask because Hotel Finder is pulling in their tariffs from the OTAs and other agencies like WHIP in Europe. Is Google going to change that? Because right now it's sort of dominated by the OTA and you have to click more to see the hotel website.
It's a big issue at the moment actually because you can't an independent can't advertise within Hotel Finder. It's not possible to do that. We've complained about it. Several other agencies have complained about it. So your only route at the moment is actually through the OTAs or TPIs, and it's a real problem because it is the results are often. The algorithm that's used to put the results there is not good. So you can look for a hotel in Newquay and it will give you results for St Austell over a hotel that is actually in Newquay. So it's not brilliant. The hotel Finder team have moved from Poland to the UK, I believe now, just in the last week. So we're hoping that we'll be able to speak to them in a bit more detail.
Otherwise, if you're not on the OTAs, you're not on the Hotel Finder.
No, you're not. But what I would say is, at the moment, just try and my personal view about Booking.com and late rooms is that you shouldn't go with them, and you should actually beat them with your own search advertising, because we went through an example this afternoon where one hotel was paying about £150 per booking with Booking.com, and they were forcing the price right down. Yeah, if you've got 150 quid to spend on search advertising or display advertising, you could probably get 5, 6, or 7 bookings for that at the value that you want. So that's why I'm not a big fan of.
I know.
I know we're different. Yeah.
On that particular point,
I think for time we need to move on to Malcolm now, and then we'll take more questions at the end and informally, if that's okay.
Yeah, for people who are remotely, we are having a problem with the upload speed. So it would be nice if we did have super fast, but we don't have super fast. So I'm hoping that the recording is going to be okay. So we'll put that up, even if people can hear me remotely at the moment. But we'll put the recording, which should be safe, should be okay on here because it's being recorded locally. So I'm hoping that's going to be okay. So.
What do I push?
Push the button.
Push the button. Oh, I'll push that button. Oh, there we go. Okay. Thank you very much. Actually, out of curiosity, you'll see that wonderful new gateway sign to Cornwall, which was promised for nothing. When it came to it, because you notice they're not on the roads, for having 4 of those put up in the entrances to Cornwall would cost £100,000. So we turned around and said we'd rather spend it on digital activity than great signs on the road. So it just shows where you have to make decisions on money. I hope I pushed the right way. Right, first thing is, what does this all mean? 1980, a means of getting to work. Looking around the room, I'm probably one of the oldest. I won't pick on anybody else who might be slightly older. But I did my degree in the 1970s. I sort of vaguely remember it. My degree is actually in nuclear physics and computing sciences, even though actually at that time it was punch cards, no VDUs, no nothing. I managed to get a degree in computing science without ever getting a program to work because it took so long. And worked on a famous contract at the time on Ferranti, and that never worked either. So I got out of that, and you wouldn't have me anywhere near a nuclear power station or nuclear weapons. But what I did end up doing is working in training and purchasing training at the time for professions. And because I was dealing in IT, the way the government works is divers and IT, as well as professional personal services, which in Manchester was some interesting ladies of the night, were all under my category. And I had to deal with the growth of the time of North Sea divers. So you might say, what's all this about? The problem I actually had at the time, it really sort of occurred to me, you think, oh good, what you do is get a load of divers who are already diving, called amateurs or BSAC members. Actually, that was rubbish. What you had to do was remember that at the end of the day, diving was only a means to get to work. And what you actually had to have is a welder or a technician, and then you taught them to dive. So sometimes you've got to be very careful that the work doesn't change and some of the other issues. So a bit of a silly example, but it is this thing that is only a tool. Tools are there. You've got to remember what the real job is rather than what might actually get in your eyes. So again, technology is only a tool, hence my next one. It used to be a time like that. That was before Superfast. It used to be monks. And then you get technology and it improves things. So things do move on, but it's a tool to the end, and that's what I keep referring to. And I keep pushing these buttons because I prefer them. I like this. I got this slide off the internet, housework rules. I thought I'd just put that out. Not to be a provocative as an old man. But this, in a way, is a bit of my life, really, except they're not quite the same. Is 1960s, I do remember. I remember my mother giving my father a list to drop into Kemp's, the chemist, somewhere in Truro. Used to be in Boscawen Street. And in the afternoon, a van turned up delivering the groceries. And then, of course, we had the 1970s and 80s where you actually had, forget the phone call, you actually had to go and collect it yourself, put it in your car and drive it back. And lo and behold, 2010, you're back to actually sending the grocery list and your groceries arriving. So sometimes the sort of people think it's new, but maybe it's not that new. The technology allows us to bring things back that used to work really well, but got not locked out. So again, it's that back to what's actually the function about it, and a few other ones. So it's just my observations on life. The other one is, beware of, well, it should be one word rather than beware, but anyway, beware of projecting from early adopters on what and how. I think I think we've all been there, and sometimes no, I'm a sort of a gadget freak, so you've got to be careful. And some of the early adopters, sometimes it's right, and sometimes it's wrong. So there you go. I remember when VHS first came out, very quickly they got very complicated with programmable things. So you could be on the end of a 6-foot piece of wire and program your video for ages. In the end, though, it ended up as something you just chucked a tape in and push record. And actually, that wasn't the problem. In reality, people wanted iPlayer. Because actually, most people actually go when somebody says, "I've seen a program last night, it was good." That was no use for the video recorder. But all I mean is, it starts off a bit more complicated and then other things go. There's still a role for the complicated, but the bulk of people will use something a bit simpler. Likewise, microwaves. I've got a microwave bought in 1995, sits in the corner. It will take a chicken, weigh it, feed it, kill it, and do everything else. Cost 295 quid in 1995. It does scrambled eggs. That's about all it does every day now. Well, not every day, about once a week. That's because things move on. I'm not trying to be a Luddite, but it's actually interesting how different people will use technologies. There are still those with the complicated ones. But what tends to happen is other things change. So I'm old enough and grey enough to remember that video and all was going to be the death of the cinema. No, it got the death of the very boring cinema with very bad seats that you couldn't see in to something different. And I think, microwaves certainly haven't been the death of cooking. In fact, cookery programs have ratcheted up. But the chill range and Marks and Spencers and Waitrose are delivering the product for people to finish off. So it's interesting how things weave. So it starts a journey, but it goes that far. So that's my little bit there. So, let's reflect particularly on holidays, particularly as a tourist board man of, in a way, what's changed over the years. And these years might not be right because I was doing it late at night. I couldn't remember what year I'm in yet alone when these rules applied. So I'm going to give you some dates in a minute, and you can take either way of 2 or 3 days. But first of all, what's the holiday purchasing stage is all about? Well, you can do various different ways, but I quite like this one at the moment. It starts off with dreaming and discussing. It's all about dreams and thinking about places. And there's a great thing it might be on our website, certainly on Visit England website, called Think, Look, Book, research of when people think about holidays and book. But it actually starts with a bit of daydreaming, a bit of stimulating that daydreaming, which comes back to some of the thoughts earlier on about how do you stimulate somebody to dream. You then get a sort of broad issue of research, but at one stage research was asking people around you and looking at things. It's then you sort of shortlist the options, bearing in mind there's normally more than one person, and decide, and then you do get round to booking. And then you either plan and stay, or increasingly you stay and then panic and plan. You sort of arrive, it's sort of fire, ready, steady, aim. And then the bit that was always, apart from a postcard or a Christmas card, there's a post-day communication. And I think that's the other thing. I think in tourism, you've got to adopt more the sort of Disney philosophy through life values of customers and how you nurture that. So I'm going to come on to that in a bit. So back in about 1995-ish, holiday has always been up until then, the holiday was the most expensive thing people bought without seeing. So that meant you could sell them anything because they didn't get the chance to try it. It's like selling somebody a car they cannot touch, get in, or start. It's a salesman's dream. That's why tourist boards were full of bull. So you sold them a dream that probably wasn't there. You controlled the research because you sent them the brochure. You shortlisted the options for them because it was only in the brochure. And they had the book via the brochure, and then that was it. And you didn't bother with them afterwards because if they didn't like it, doesn't matter. There's a load of suckers to come next year. Life was nice and easy. Big pictures of Cornwall, beautiful beaches, always a blue sky. Don't worry about it. They'll always come like the buffalo in the Wild West. There'll be more next year. Then about this sort of time, the most expensive thing people could see to buy at a distance. So they can now start seeing it on the internet. They might even see the odd webcam. But they didn't really know that much about what other customers did. So all of a sudden, the dreaming bit has to be a bit more real, but the research bit you were still controlling in many ways. And the same in a lot of the booking processes, really. It was still slightly controlled. So tourist boards could still carry on lying quite well. And so could hoteliers and everybody else, or at least selling the dream. And then we move on a bit more, and this is when it starts getting a bit interesting. Couldn't work out when TripAdvisor came along, but it's probably maybe a bit before. Most expensive thing, you can buy it, but you can see it now, but you can also start hearing about past customers. And I think it took about another 4 years for people to realise they better start telling the truth. you know, because all of a sudden actually you could sell a pup, but they'd tell everybody. And I was being provocative to a doctor the other night. I was saying to somebody else, doctor the other night about the Trelisk issue, because I remember about this time when TripAdvisor came on, hoteliers were up in arms. People like me were saying, this is ridiculous. It can only be a skilled hotel inspector that can do a review of a hotel. You can't let the customers do it. This is ridiculous. So I was saying to this person, about 27 skilled professionals going to Trelisk, why don't we have hotel advisor and school advisor? Get the customers to do reviews of the services we get in other areas. Could be an interesting change in public service. But I think the main issue there is, you know, on some of these issues down below, people had to really start thinking, and there was a lull. And I think if you get most people, there's a lot of people that still don't like review sites and TripAdvisor, but everybody actually realised you've got to work with it. And actually, slowly what's starting to happen is it's got to realise that if you're actually running a business, you've got to actually target your market well, be honest, and attract the customers that will suit you. So I'll tell you an example of that, of two brothers, for those who probably know in the room, Watergate Bay and the Nair Hotel. Two brothers, two hotels. What do you think would happen if an old colonel from the Raj at the Nair Hotel turned up at Watergate? And what would happen if a young upwardly mobile person from London turned up at the Nair? They would give two totally different reviews on their experiences. Who's to say what's quality and what's not? The customer. So I think this is where it starts coming back to the issue of remembering what you're there for, remembering about the targeting, who are you attracting. This is why, you know, this whole thing about sort of 2010 maybe, you had this great revolution in tourist and destination marketing called Tell the Truth, because we're behind the curve. So, for instance, in 2013, I banned all pictures of Cornwall with blue skies and with no clouds in it, because then we had the most glorious summer, didn't we? We had to go out and get somebody to take some pictures. But not over-egging it, because that's the way you do get slated. You're not managing the expectations. And we got a good enough product without doing it. And now, you know, most expensive, blah, 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 blah. But now people can ask others. They can be persuaded by others. They can do all sorts of other sorts of checking around from Google Earth, Street View, all sorts of things. You know, it's about being honest and not trying to deny it and to attract those customers. We've got a good enough product without doing it. So, you know, that's where we are. But it still applies to this. So the dreams must be real now. They must be deliverable. Research, they've got the power of everything. So if you're trying to trick them, they're going to find you out. So don't do that. Their research and their options are far more dynamic, and so is their booking, and so is the rest of it. But the post-stay connection, or that through life value, is actually also very, very important. Can't remember what I said. So let's not get carried away with the technology, but actually do get carried away with it, but in that sense of staying close to the market. And make sure you evolve and respond. But the basics of marketing are still there. It's still about making that connection. And it's still about understanding the insights of things. And it was interesting last Friday, I was in London to see the National Campaigns Evaluation. And actually, even Visit England forgot what they told us themselves, because we did a kids campaign, which actually scored quite poorly across the general audience, scored very well within the target market. And that's because I'll put this up, but you won't see these things. But one of the things here is this is different destinations and associations with statements. And you'll, by the way, I'll tell you, not supposed to show who the other places are. There's some right rotters in here. But that's Devon. Next to us is Devon. There's also Skegness, which I think is.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, no, it's not that one. It makes me want to return time and time again. 7%. Almost 38%. I'd always love to pick on Skegness. But what we picked up on this one, particularly for the children, is this creates lasting memories. So it's memories are made in Cornwall was the thing targeted to the kids campaign, because parents really want their kids to have great memories, to remember what they did. And that was the bit they found that really tied in to the parental market, because parents are buying a holiday, but they're also in a way subconsciously buying a memory for their kids. So that's what I mean by working with good knowledge about what's the insights to what people feel about your product, generally for us a destination, and then obviously making sure it works and it's true. So still works on that. Our marketing strategy last year, or coming to the end now, because it actually feels quite dated.